Hello you guys, it's Joe and I'm bringing you a new card of the week this week, and this time we're going to be looking at Lenna from Opus 3. Now Lenna is a 5CP 7000 power forward underwater that reads, when Lenna comes into play you can select a water forward of cost 2 or less from your break zone and then put it onto the field, and she also has an S ability which is 4 water and a copy of herself and dull her to resurrect any non-light or dark forward in your break zone onto play, but it can only be played during your turn. Now, when I first read Lenna in the spoilers for Opus 3, I didn't particularly like her because I sat there and I just thought, well, for 5CP, yes, she can generate kind of, a little bit of advantage through some of the forwards that you had in Opus 1 and 2, but in all honesty, I wasn't looking at the bigger picture. I think that Lenna's actually extremely good. And I didn't really think much about it, like the S ability I didn't really think that much of because it costs 4 water and a copy of Lenna out of your hand, which means that, most of the time you're going to be summoning something that costs less than it would have cost for you to have just paid it later. But I mean, in all fairness, there are certain situations where you would want to use the S ability, so if you're going to run Lenna, I would suggest running 3 of her, because that S ability you never know when that's going to come in handy. You could summon a Cecil out of your break zone, but just be careful not to run too many 5CP plus forwards. It's a real shame that she can't summon anything light or dark, because otherwise I'd pair her up with Minerva right away, but that doesn't work, unfortunately. One thing I will say about Lenna is that it looks like she's going to be very future-proof, because in future sets there's undoubtedly going to be loads and loads of smaller units that can be, synergistic with her come into play effect and bringing in something that costs 2 CP or less. And there's going to be things that come out in the future that probably cost more than what we currently have that's worth using her S ability on. So I really think that it's worth picking up Lenna sooner rather than later so that you don't regret having to find her when more sets come out. And that's not to say that she's bad now, she's really, really good. Like, I'm going to go over a couple of the combos and stuff that you can play with her, and I'm also in the middle of building up a mono water deck, because I know mono water's been doing very, very well recently, and I wanted to do my kind of take on it, so that deck is going to be featuring Lenna, so I definitely would like you guys to look forward to that in the coming days. There's a ton of good cards that synergize really, really well with Lenna, and the first one that comes to mind is the new Knight from Opus 3. It's 2 CP, 3k, and it gets 1k bigger for every backup you control. So at 5 backups, you have 8,000 power, which is pretty good. If one of those backups happens to be backup Waka, then you're summoning a 9k guy off of Lenna, and she's an 8k guy at that point. So the way to think about Lenna is the same way that you think about searchers like Steiner, and this was, when I first read her, this was me being stupid, being quite honest. When you play her, she actually doesn't really cost 5 because you get more than just her out of it. You get her and something out of your graveyard or break zone or bin, whatever you want to call it. So realistically, because if you're going to grab something that's 2 CP, she actually technically only costs 3. So it's a nice way to look at her. So if you kind of subtract the cost of the guy that you're getting back out, then you can make it sound that much nicer. And I actually really like playing Viking with her, which I never really disliked this card in general. It's very, very weak, but it does... it synergizes very well with some other cards, which I'll get to in a second, but because of the fact that you draw a card off of it, it technically means that Lenna herself only costs 1, because you're getting to draw another card that you would have paid for her. So it turns her into a really, really nice draw engine. Not only that, but if you were to use any of the units that you summon off of Lenna, you can just throw away to Famfrit, which is a really, really good summon right now, and Famfrit is just like... free for you at that point. You're just killing one of your opponent's guys, especially if it's Viking, because you've lost nothing. It's just a very, very good little combo. And then the last one that I did want to mention in terms of combos with Lenna is Fame Mimic Go-Go. Fame Mimic Go-Go is just a really good card anyway, particularly in mono water decks, and that's another card that I'll be featuring in the deck that I'll post up soon, but that's neither here nor there. I just think that a 7,000, even though it's only a 1 CP guy, being able to summon a 7,000 guy off of another guy coming into play is just value. It's just a really, really good combo. So there's a lot of cards that you could look into to playing with Lenna, but you just have to remember that they have to be water forwards if you're going to summon them off of her coming into play effect. They don't have to be if you're going to use them off of her S ability. So look out for more coming into play effects and things that have effects when they die, stuff like that, so you can kind of repeat effects by just bringing them backwards and forwards, and just keep an eye out for that kind of thing. In terms of the decks that I would play Lenna in, I think, honestly, I would pretty much exclusively run her in a mono water deck. As I've said, I'll be posting up a mono water deck list of my own in the next few days, so I hope you guys will look forward to that. And then the other idea I did have is that I really think that there's some room. I'd really love it if somebody actually built this before I did, because it's something that's just kind of sitting in my brain a bit, but I'd love to see a wind, fire, water deck that runs Lenna, Faris, and King Tycoon and Sildra, and I know that that sounds terrible, but when you kind of realise that Sildra gets cheaper by playing Yuna, who's a 2 CP backup, that makes your water summons cheaper, alongside the YRP trio. They kind of like off of water wind, and then wind fire has some nice kind of synergies as well. I don't have the full idea in my head yet, but I'm just wondering if there is a fire, water, wind deck list that can run the FF5 trio and the FF10-2 trio in the same deck and make some weird concoction. So leave a comment if you can think of any way to make that work, because I would love you for it, and I would totally feature it on this channel, because something I want to be doing in the next few weeks is featuring other people's decks, because I don't want this channel to all be about me and the things that I'm doing. I want to share everything with everybody. So if you've got a deck list that you think would be really, really interesting over the next few weeks, or something you think other people need to see, then drop me a message on Facebook, or I'll leave a link to all of my social media pages in the description box, and you can just let me know what you think. And that's it for Card of the Week this week, and I hope you enjoyed the video. As I've said, look out the next few days, because I have a mono water deck list coming up. I also have Final Fantasy X and 13 Starter Deck Re-volved, which hopefully will aid new players in getting into the game, so you can easily just share those out with new players. And as I said, I just think that Lenna is generally a really, really good card, and I hope you guys do too. So thank you very much for watching again, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because I always appreciate it when you guys do. And I'll speak to you guys soon. So thanks again. Bye.